When I was in PT school, I did an entire research report on the history of health insurance in this country. And I think you'd be surprised to learn that it wasn't until 1979 that every employer started offering health insurance, and they did it because Jimmy Carter mandated it. So the first time we screwed it up was then. It was 79. It was the year I was born. He mandated that employers provide a level of health insurance. And if you look at the cost of health insurance and the medical costs, they took a big jump right there. It was like a 21% jump in medical costs and a 17% jump in insurance premiums. But then everything kind of stayed the same for a really long time because insurance companies were not for profit. So there's a difference between not for profit, non-profit, and for-profit companies. And the next person, there were some changes, like in 92, there were some changes that allowed them to increase premiums again and then increase or put in the first deductibles. But the deductibles were small. They were like $500, right? So that was 92. Who was president then? It wasn't a Democrat, I'll tell you that. And then 97 really screwed us over. And that was Clinton. And again, really screwed us over, right? So he let the insurance companies go from not for profit, meaning that at the end of the year, if they had profits, they had to send dividends back to the subscribers. So if you paid Blue Cross Blue Shield California, Michigan, whatever, or Cigna, or whatever it was, they had to send you back profits based on how many subscribers were in that zone, right? And they paid for a lot more preventative health care. A lot more. But that went away in 97. And then in 2001, again, not a Democrat in office, there was a huge jump in deductibles, insurance premiums, and copays. And it was another 30% jump in premiums. Deductibles went up to $6,000 for the first time for a family of 4. And copays went up from about $10 on average to about $40 on average. That wasn't a Democrat in office. And here's the thing. When Obama first started talking about a healthcare plan, he wanted a universal healthcare plan, right? And the plan that he suggested was that we take young persons who were working, who maybe they worked for a small employer, and we created a Medicare Junior program. And that Medicare Junior program meant that you had people who don't utilize physicians a lot, don't utilize their insurance a lot, paying into the Medicare system where we could support our elderly at a rate of an average of $100 a month per person, where the average use by someone aged 25 in the working world to 35 averages out to about $400 a year in an annual visit. So they pay in $1,200, they use $400. And the system of Medicare brings in $800 to support your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa. That's what he wanted. And that got shot down. So he came up with another option. Is it a great option? No. Is it better than anything else anyone else had ever proposed? Yeah. And these subsidies, they make a difference. But no one really cares. They just think, I deserve. And again, we have a real problem here because there's a lack of communication, and people are saying, well, one group said, we'll come back and we'll vote on only SNAP benefits, but we're not going to do the rest of our job, even though we're still collecting a paycheck and all of our employees are not. And we don't care about them. We only care that we don't have to talk to the other side about these other things that are on our docket. We only want to talk about this one thing. We're only willing to come in for 5 minutes to vote on this one thing, and then we're not going to do our job anymore. Shame on all of them. Shame on all of them. Shame on all of them for not agreeing that a system that supported the elderly who are no longer making an income, no longer paying into that system, wouldn't work. Shame on the people who are currently not doing their job, even though we voted them there and they get paid to be there. And they are still getting paid to be there, even though other government employees are not. On both sides. Shame on them for not acting like adults and acting like toddlers who are taking their toys and going home. Shame on them all. Because all that is hurting is all of us. It creates a bigger problem. It creates more stress. It creates more of a headache. It creates more tension, which leads to high blood pressure, headaches, migraines. Migraines can lead to a stroke. It leads to GI issues. It leads to more drinking. It leads to, believe it or not, more domestic violence issues. Like, everyone is suffering because of this. Because one party won't talk to the other party, and they've taken their toys and they're going home, and we're not going to converse with you on anything that doesn't align with my perfect values. Well, I'm sorry. I have thoughts on both sides, and I think both sides are being dumb, especially given how much money they make every year, especially compared to what the people in their districts make for a living. It's shocking and disgusting that nobody can see that the problem is that we cannot have a conversation about all of the issues. I don't think that any insurance company should be required to cover certain things that the Democratic Party wants covered. I think that's stupid. But I also don't think that taking these subsidies away is the best idea until we have something better in place. Because having someone's health insurance premiums go up by $10,000 a year might be the difference between whether or not they have food insecurity. And that's what we're talking about right now, right? A bunch of people who aren't getting their SNAP benefits who have food insecurity. And if you've never been food insecure, you may not care. But as somebody who has been food insecure, it's not a great place to be. Especially if you're a kid in that situation and you're expected to go sit in a classroom and learn. It's really hard to learn when you feel like you might pass out because you haven't had breakfast or lunch or dinner in a few days. Let's remember, there were other options, and the other side refused to negotiate then. And they're still refusing to negotiate now, or even come back to their job.